Welcome back to my channel, members of the Alphabet Gang. My name is NikStarchild, and I make videos about my life as a thriving transgender man. On Mondays, I talk about money, and today's topic is about budgeting. Let's get into the nitty-gritty. This information is for everyone, but I like to make sure I'm sharing for my queer community in particular because of the importance of financial health. So what better way to get it than from another queer like myself? I am not an expert, but I love sharing and helping others thrive. So let's get into it. So a budget. A budget is a plan that shows you how you can spend your money every month. Making a budget can help you make sure you do not run out of money at the end of the month, and it'll also help you save for like goals and or for emergencies. How do I start a budget? Well, you want to start a budget by gathering your bills and pay stubs. You want to think about how you spend your money besides paying your bills. For example, do you eat out for lunch every day? You want to like think about those kind of expenses or things you do every weekend. You get a particular type of treat or expense or item. After a month, you know that lunch money, right, could add up to an expense you'd want to write down, right? So when you have your bills and pay stubs, write down your expenses. Maybe it's that lunch, that daily lunch. Expenses usually include bills that are the same each month, like rent, bills that change each month, like utilities, and also bills you pay once or twice a year, like car insurance. Other expenses are going to be your standard, your food, your gas, your entertainment, clothes, school supplies, money for family, unplanned expenses like car repairs, medical bills, credit card bills. So, the gamut, all of the things that you would be spending your money on. You also might have bills that change every month, so you want to make sure that you're accounting for that because maybe your electricity bill fluctuates and it's not the same every month, so you want to take account of that when you are doing your budget and expenses. And then after that, you're gonna write down how much money you make. So this includes your paychecks, any other money too. So like maybe you do side hustles, maybe you receive child support, maybe you get annuities from your family, or some kind of settlement, So think about all of the money that you have coming in. And then you're gonna subtract your expenses from how much money you make. So this number should be more than zero. If it's less than zero, you are spending more money than you make. Look at your budget to see what you actually need, and then you can take off the things that you don't need so you can spend less. And there are tons of budget worksheets online, so many. I think there's a consumers.gov has a budget worksheet that you can check out. But yeah, so then let's talk about the different types of budget, right? So there are a few different types. I'm not going to cover all of them, but I'm going to cover some big ones. The first one that I want to talk about is conscious spending. Conscious spending, it is a type of budget, but it's also like a life strategy. Most of us, we spend money on whatever, and then we kind of like reactively feel good or bad about it, right? So conscious spending is about like being proactive and having a mindset of spending your money on things that actually you're connected to, that are close to your values, being more intentional about your money. As a result, you'll be able to move kind of closer to your financial goals, and it'll free you from like that guilt of like, you went and shopped and then afterwards you're just like, oh, why did I do that? I don't need this. And you don't have to feel that way if you're always spending your money on things that you actually want to spend your money on. A thing though to note about conscious spending or conscious spending plan rather, is that it's not a strict budget. It's like very flexible. It's like high level and very particular to you as a person, and it can change. So you do want to like maybe set some goals. So you want to set some short term, some medium term, some long term goals to focus on the things that make you happy. And I would suggest for a conscious spending plan to use a percentage-based budget that works best for your lifestyle. And I'll talk about percentage-based budgets in a bit at the end. So first, let's talk about zero-based budgets. I wouldn't suggest this budget. As I find it's a bit too extreme. But I have to share because some people like to do extremes. There are people really into that. But so zero-based budgeting is a method that you allocate all of your money to expenses for needs, wants, as well as short and long-term savings and debt payments, all those things, right? You allocate all of your money. The goal is that your income minus your expenditures equals zero by the end of the month. You can repeat expense categories and amounts each month, or you can mix it up and change those amounts, but the goal is to always hit zero. And if you come under budget on a category at the end of the month, you add that remaining amount to the next month's budget or move it to another category, like an emergency fund. You never get to spend the extra money. It's always has a purpose. It's kind of the same concept as the envelope system, which involves just you're distributing money for different expense categories into envelopes. And let's talk about that. So speaking of the envelope system, or cash stuffing as it's now being called, it's a budgeting method that allows you to physically portion out your monthly income into different spending categories. And you do that by getting envelopes, right? And you write specific expense categories on each one. So groceries, rent, student loans, internet, whatever. And then put that money you plan to spend on those things into the envelopes. Traditionally, people have, usually use envelopes, but people are using digital methods as well, spreadsheets and stuff. It's the same concept. Now let's talk about another type of budget, which is the pay yourself first. This budget is a reverse budgeting strategy where you build your spending plan around savings goals, such as retirement, instead of your fixed and variable expenses. So it prioritizes your savings, but not at the expense of housing and utilities. You still pay those things, but you prioritize your savings. So the pros of this is it's super low maintenance compared to zero based. It helps you focus on the big picture. It leads to less impulse buying. And I think it to be the most effective for this budget, you should automate. If you automate, it's pretty simple. And then lastly, let's talk about the percentage-based budgets. So percentage-based budgets, there's a lot of different types of percentage-based budgets, but there's 3 that most people think of, and I will go into a little bit about each one, but you can always edit these to your fancy. So, but it's a good way to start. So, the first one is the 50-30-20. So 50% of your money goes to needs, 30% goes to wants, and 20% goes to savings. There is the 80-20, where it's 80% needs, 20% goes to wants and savings. And the final one is 70-20-10, 70% needs, 20% wants, and 10% saving. You can do any of these. I think 50-30-20 is good, but I like to flip the last 2 numbers so that it's 50% needs, 30% savings, 20% wants. I don't think you should be spending 30% of on wants. That's too high. Even 20% is probably a little too high. But yeah, I think 50-30-20 is a really good system to start, especially if you're new to budgeting. And also, obviously you have this budget. You're like, but how do I use the budget? So you would to use the budget, you just have to get in the habit of tracking your money. And at the beginning of the month, oh, got a alarm going off. At the beginning of the month, you make a plan for how you will spend your money that month, and then you write down what you think you will earn and spend. And then you do this every day. Every day you do this. And at the end of the month, you see if you spent what you planned. So then you use that information to help you plan the next month budget. You do this every month for a few months. You get really used to what you're doing, and you don't have to do it every day. You can more spitball it and just glance at it, but you want to kind of be dedicated in the beginning to get an understanding of how to do it properly. All right. That's it. So that, again, a lot of information about budgeting, but I wanted to give some detail. Tons to learn. There's a lot of things you can look up about it. Feel free to search online. But I hope you enjoyed this information. If you have any questions, please let me know. So thank you again, Alphabet Gang, for watching this video and spending a bit of time with me today. There are a lot of ways you can support me. So the standard like, comment, and subscribe. But I also have links in the description if you'd like to go above and beyond in supporting me. Creating content isn't easy. So especially, for someone like myself, a transgender person of color. So your support is everything. And I really appreciate you. And I will see you in the next video next Monday.